Hello and welcome to 2.0 of our inaugural episode of the Boardroom Insider. I'm still trying to figure out the name for this, but this is going to probably embarrass Steve a little bit. But there are few people in this entire world that I'm more impressed with and excited to talk to than Steve Cunningham. And our relationship goes back about 5 or 6 years now. And as people have seen, he runs readit4.me. Many people in the boardroom are members. And I'm starting to see Steve in more and more groups out there that I'm a member of as well. But I just think that Steve has a level of thinking that elevates my level, and I know that helps everybody else that's talking to him elevate their level of thinking, asking better questions. And when Steve was talking to me about the things that he's working on now, I literally created this Boardroom Insider series that is going to be exclusive for the people in the boardroom. We're going to have a lot more candid conversations, be able to ask maybe some tougher questions and get a lot more transparency, because this doesn't go out to the entire world. It just goes out to some of the most influential people on the planet. And so, Steve, I guess that's as best introduction I can do for you right now. But I'm just so excited to talk to you about what you're working on in the world of social entrepreneurship today.
Thanks so much for having me, Jeff. I'm excited. This will be fun. The second time around. We liked it so much the first time we're doing it again.
We're doing it the right way this time, where I'm able to record the video.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the kind words.
Yeah, and they're heartfelt, truly.
So am I taking it away here?
You take it away. Take it away, man.
All right, cool. So I'll just put this on full screen. So we've done a lot of different things at Rated for Me over the past 6 years, and what I feel is like those 6 years were leading up to this moment in time, where we're at the right place at the right time and attempting to do something good in the world along with making money. And I'm calling it Social Entrepreneurship 2.0. And I'll get into the details of this as we go along. But the idea is that if you can create a competitive product or service that the marketplace wants, grow it mainly through word of mouth. And I use word of mouth instead of social media for reasons we'll get into. I think most entrepreneurs fundamentally don't understand social media. And then finally, if the better your business does, the bigger your impact in the world is, you're operating on what I'm calling a social entrepreneurship 2.0 model. We're going to get into the nuts and the bolts of it, but the question is, how's this working for you? This is not just a theory we made up and are hoping that sticks. This is something that's transformed our business. So these are the periods of when we started this in July of this year, and so I'm just showing you our revenue numbers compared 2015 versus 2016, based on us using this model. So I think it's about 14.6 times revenue. It's actually higher now if we look at July through December, but it's doing pretty good. And so I think there's some stuff here that will be interesting for your group members on a revenue generation.
So many people talk about going 10x with their business, and you're talking about how you adopted this strategy, or what are you calling it? This crusade, if you will, and it's taken your business nearly 15x.
Yeah, it's over 15x now. I got to update the slide, but yeah, it's working incredibly well. In terms of the business aspect, but it's also working incredibly well on the social good side of things as well. And I think, like I said, I think it's the right time and place for this kind of a model. This wasn't possible 5 years ago. It's probably going to be overdone in the next 5 years, and now is kind of the sweet spot, I think, for launching or transforming your business under this model. So I'm going to take you through it. We got some very high level stuff. We got some very specific stuff, but I've tried to craft it in a story or a narrative that makes sense. So just for everybody who is not familiar with Read It For Me, I just want to just quickly take you through the product and service so that you can understand where we're coming from. So the service is fairly simple. I send you an email at 6 a.m. every single day with a new business or personal development book summary. We take that book, turn it into, in 12 minutes or less, a text, audio, and video format. And that's what the email looks like. So we give you a synopsis of the synopsis to help you understand, is this something I want to dive deeper in today? And you get access to the library, moving everything that we've done previously, you still get access to. And we've chunked it down into streams that we know just from learning over the past 6 years that entrepreneurs are most interested in. So Monday, you're going to get a leadership title. On Tuesday, you're going to get a sales title. On Wednesday, you're going to get a marketing title. On Thursday, you're going to get a personal development title. Friday's employee engagement, Saturday's entrepreneurship, and Sunday is what we're going to call social good. Books that kind of teach you a little bit about what goes on in the social good world, how you can marry that with your business. What we like to say is that we help you turn your in-between moments into the most productive part of your day. So a lot of our customers will listen to the audio on their commute, whether it's in their car or on a train. A lot of people will have this on while they're at the gym. Maybe it's over their morning coffee. Maybe it's at the end of the day while they're on their evening stroll, or whatever you do to wind down. One of our customers told me that they listen to an audio every morning in the shower, which was kind of creepy, but it may be taking it to a little bit of an extreme. But the idea is that you can actually do this while you're doing other things.
Can I ask you, how do people load it onto their phone? It's a technical question, but just, is there an app, or is it just they just download the MP3?
Right now, they would just stream it. We're actually launching an app. We're in a beta test right now with our customers, and we're launching an app in January to the world. So right now, it's just streaming, but in the very near future, it's going to be, you can download it to your app just like you would
Fantastic.
using the podcast app.
Fantastic.
So the other thing that a lot of our customers do is they turn these videos and the content we create into engaging learning sessions and team meetings that, and most importantly, take zero preparation to get ready for on behalf of the person who's running the workshop and the people who are attending. You literally show up, press play in a video. We give you some discussion questions to kind of spark a discussion, and you're off to the races. So a lot of different applications for that. We've got thousands of customers, including leaders of some of the world's most respected companies. And Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos, was actually our first corporate customer. I cold emailed Tony, which is a lesson that I love sharing, because you'd be surprised in how many people will actually respond to you if you actually send them a thoughtful note. So entrepreneurs all the way from Fortune 500 companies are our customers. We got some of the world's most respected thought leaders as customers. If you've watched late night television and see infomercials, you might see some of our customers. Many of them don't like the world knowing that they're customers, but they are. And so we've got a good collection of really bright, engaging, inspiring people as our customers. So it's a really humbling and cool feeling to wake up every day serving those people. We get different levels of membership, which I'm not going to get into right now. There's a free, there's a monthly and annual, there's a lifetime, and then we're just about to launch another plan called the VIP plan, targeted at people who want to use our service as a networking tool, which we're excited about. But we won't spend a ton of time on this. So that's the product side of it. So we've got a product that appeals to a broad audience of people around the world, mostly people who are growth minded and who want to do great things in the world and don't have a lot of time, which is everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the product, and you got to make sure. In the reason for the product part of it, and this is obvious to most entrepreneurs, you need to have a really good product in order to succeed. But you can't just paste in a social good element into a crappy business and have it work. It's not going to work. So you need to make sure that you've got your business side of things worked out before this model will actually work. So the next part is grown mainly through word of mouth. And there's a book called Grouped, which I'd suggest that any entrepreneur has to read if they want to understand how to get, viral growth, which is a buzzword and really doesn't mean anything anymore. But in order to get true viral growth, it happens through regular people. And by the way, the author of this book is a guy by the name of Paul Adams, and he worked at both Facebook and Google Plus on their growth team. And so he has access to just an enormous amount of data. And what they've shown is that most people's social networks, although they're much larger in the digital world, operate exactly like they do in the real world. You speak to and connect with the same people online as you do in your regular life, and it's only a small handful of people. And what he says is that we communicate the most with and are influenced disproportionately by our closest connections. And interestingly, these people, exist in subsets of our networks. So for you, Jeff, you've got a work network.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a life stage network. You've got a school network. Some people stay in touch with people they went to school with. You've got the boardroom.
Yep.
That's another small network. So our networks aren't this huge collection of, 500, 1,000, 10,000 people. What they are is very small networks, and there's many different ones of them.
That's
And so,
powerful.
and it's a fundamental shift. Like, the way I describe it is, you're not going to impact your business by getting Kim Kardashian to tweet something about you or post something on Instagram. If you want something to truly go viral, you need to get regular people to share things and to share things about your business. And what I don't mean is, share things on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat. What I mean is sharing your business in their regular everyday conversations with the people that they interact with. Probably a better example would be, JV partners are a great way to grow your business, and they provide a one-time spike. But if you want to get viral growth, you need to figure out how do you take the customers who come in through those JV partnerships and get them to do the exact same thing.
There's a guy in the boardroom by the name of Michael Griffiths that literally is going to be doing cartwheels based on what you just said, because his whole thing is about creating that network that's not this social network, if you will, but this direct network of regular people connecting with regular people, and becomes the most convertible network that you have.
Yeah, it's not only the most convertible network because they're people who are connected with you, emotionally, and you trust them. It's the only way to do it. There is no other way. So you're kidding yourself if you think you can do it through a Facebook page with thousands of fans. Those are not the ways that true viral growth happens. And when I say viral growth, I mean actually growing your business as opposed to growing your Facebook page. So here's how we're doing it, and how we're thinking about it. So we go after a consumer, and this is a model that I describe as the B to C to C to the fifth exponent, which is not a really snappy title, but makes sense when you see it in a second. So we are looking to have our customers connect us with 5 different C's in their life: their college or university, specifically their LinkedIn connections, charities that they are connected with, companies that they work at, and communities that they're involved in. So, the people who are listening to this are in the Thursday Night Boardroom community. And so those are the, if you take a look at all of the different subsets of networks, these are ones that people have a strong connection with and care most about. And most everybody has these subset of networks going on in their lives. And so when we take a look at it, we want that obviously, if we get connected to a charity, now we're connected to more people who would have the exact same thing going on in their lives. And the idea is that you want to grow that exponentially. And
Oh,
that
wow.
you want to figure out, how do you get the most out of every single person coming in through the door? And if you think about it in this way, if you can get your customers to connect you with those 5 C's, and you might have other ones in mind in your business, these are the ones that make sense for us,
Uh-huh.
that you are going to exponentially grow your business. Um, so if you take a look, there's my fun way of showing viral growth. There we go. That was pretty cool, right?
Wow.
See that
Wow.
transition? Yeah, I did that myself. So
Good
um,
thing, good thing I took mushrooms. That was even better.
you like that? That's
Yeah,
pretty cool. I forgot to take off these stupid transitions. My apologies.
that's what else.
Um, so, and then you got to figure out, like, so how do you incent people to do this? You need to incent them. You can't just say, "Hey, share us with your college, the college you went to." So we thought long and hard about this, and here is where we're at today. This might change in the future as we experiment, but this is where we're at today. So if you come in as a customer, we're going to ask you to read it for me with your alma mater. And why you were going to do this is, we are making it free for any student at a college and university anywhere in the world, at least for 1 year. And so once the school is unlocked, by having somebody in the administration at the school pay for an annual account, which is $299 a year, we're targeting people who in the library, for instance, who might purchase this alongside of all the other periodicals that they purchase. We give 1 year free to every single student at the college. Of course,
Wow.
we get 1,000 kids at a school. Many of those are going to convert into customers for us over time.
That-
Then we have connections. You can do 2 things with the connections once you're a customer of Read It For Me. You can give away a free month to anybody in your network. So one of the things we found that was interesting is that getting people to share things with their LinkedIn connections, asking them to do a hard sale to their connections, it doesn't really work. But if you can switch the conversation and have them feel like they're giving a gift to their connections, all of a sudden people are ready to do it. So that's something to think about if you're trying to get people to spread what you're doing. If you can position it as a gift, and the reason a free month is a gift, because we sell a monthly membership. If we just gave people a 7-day trial, that's not something people can actually pay us for. It doesn't feel like a gift, but because this is something that people can pay us for, that's what it feels like. But you can also make a commission off of this, because if any of those people try the service for a month and then they upgrade to a paid plan, you get a commission. So we're motivating them to make the money, which is important, but we're doing it in a way that does not appear to be a hard sales tactic. So that's the connection part of it. The charity, and I should mention, even back to the college one, what we realized early on was that getting students to pay us even $5 a month was a difficult task. They just don't have the money. So instead of just ignoring that market, that's why we're going back to, because a lot of them are very interested. We're making it free. So, and we can do this because it's a digital product. You can't obviously do this if it's a physical product, and there's a cost of goods associated to it. So which brings me to the charity portion. It's free for a charity. So once you've unlocked a charity in your network, so Jeff, if you have a charity, we'd love to talk to them. What we ask for is a conversation. In that conversation, we're going to tell them 2 things. Number one, this is free for anybody who works at your charity, as long as they work at your charity. And then number 2 is that all we want to do is have a conversation with them about how they can use Read It For Me as a fundraising tool for the organization. I think I put that into this slide. There it is. Yeah. So the fundraising opportunity is, if the charity introduces us to people in their network, the most obvious use case is the board of directors, and we sell that to their business. We give 25% of the money back to the charity. So it's a very low risk way for a charity to potentially earn a significant amount of revenue in one shot, because we sell to corporations at 5 and 6 figure deals. They can, with just a few simple emails, make some good revenue. So of course, this is where things get interesting for us because we're leveraging that one-to-many model. So most charities have 10, 15, 20 people on their board of directors. They all work at companies that we would love to sell to. And so we're getting meetings literally with people that we would have to struggle to get a meeting with, and we're getting it super easy with a warm introduction, with an element of you should do business with these people because it'll be beneficial for our charity. So that's the charity portion. For a company, we are, and this is something that we're just about to launch. We are selling company subscriptions for $2 a month. So if you're working at a company and you're thinking, yeah, should I get a subscription? You're going to take this back to the company and say, you should unlock our company insider rated for me so that I can get this access to this for this low rate, and so can everybody else at our company. And the idea here is that once one person is on, obviously there's going to be the incentive for them to spread this around because it's a great deal. And number two, they're never going to cancel it, because even if they have 10 people at a large company using our service, they're never going to cancel the $299 a year subscription. So, and we're very upfront and open about all of this stuff with the people that we're dealing with, because it's a win-win. We're very clear about what we get out of it. We're very clear about what they get out of it. And most people appreciate that. Then finally, the communities. So we offer, if you will introduce us to a community that you're involved in, we give you a second tier commission on what we do. So you get 5% of any revenue generated from any community. So we give people a large number of ways to make money with us, and also to feel good about doing good in the world, which is how we get the people we're working with to do this. So the question then becomes, and this is where we're going to get into the LinkedIn stuff. And the reason I wanted to show all of that ahead of time was to show that you need to have a strategy for this first. This doesn't work unless you're actually baking this into your business model, because you can sit on this information that I'm about to show you and have it produce absolutely nothing for you. And if that's the case, you might as well not do it. So
what is that formula again? You said B to the C to the fifth power?
yeah, so there's there's B2C and there's B2B.
Oh,
The newest one is, a B2C to B model. So you first go after a consumer, then you go after their business.
got it.
And we're just trying to articulate it for ourselves. First, we go after a consumer, and then we get them to take us to all of those 5 areas. So C to the 5th exponent, whatever you want to call it. B2C to C to the 5th.
Wow. it's, it's just real quickly, just so far, and I'm sure the people who are watching this are amazed as well. But even from the time we talked about the non-start one that we start 1.0, when we talked about this, the fact that you have broken this up into Leadership Monday, Sales Skills Tuesday, Marketing Wednesday, Personal Development Thursday, Employee Engagement Friday, Entrepreneurship Saturday, and Social Good Sunday, it's like everybody in the world, and my mentor Jay Abraham, is people secretly want to be told what to do. And literally this is this thing where you just don't open up, read it for me, and go, oh, what am I going to look at today? You're delivering this at 6 a.m. and it has a theme to it. And so there's a level of pre-expectation, if you will, right? They like, hey, I can't wait, or I guess not expectation, but it's just that people are really looking forward to this, and they know what they're going to receive something extraordinary based in this particular topic. And I just love how you guide your clients through this, you the members through this, and literally everything you do has this same guiding principle that is about reducing friction. And I'm just such a geek for all this stuff that you do. It's just, I'm super impressed. And I mean, if anybody was listening at the beginning to say there, we're as we're framing social entrepreneurship, to sit there and say, look, you guys are all talking about the grind of 10x. And what Steve's just done is created this model and this formula, if you will, that if followed and truly, executed as in the spirit of which it's delivered, 15x in less than a year, right? I mean, it's or better than 15x in less than a year. I mean, it's just fantastic, and I'm just so over the moon so far.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you bring up a great point. Like, people do need to be told what to do. Even people who are CEOs of companies, because everyone's just so busy. They don't have the mind space to try and figure this. Like, if I had said, "Hey Jeff, if you share this with people in your network, here's what can happen," and I didn't tell you, "Hey, I want you to go connect me with all of the people who are at charities that you're involved in. I want you to connect me with your LinkedIn connections in this very specific way. I want you to connect me with the people in your communities in this way." If you don't tell them exactly what to do,
Right.
they're not going to do it. It just won't
You,
happen because
it's
people.
funny. CEOs have a language, and when I was writing some of these things down yesterday, and instead of saying "tell me what to do," it's "come back to me with a solution." It's kind of that secret language of you're going to tell me what we're going to do here, but I'm not going to tell you to tell me what to do. I just want you to come back to me with a solution. It's like I'm uber delegating now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was told this principle in a slightly different way, but I think this is the way it helped me think about it, is that in an absence of a plan, uh, people will follow your plan. So you
Right.
tell them exactly what to do, they'll do it. And that's exactly how you get people to share what you are up to. You need to be very specific. I think, you said there's a guy in your community who's all about referrals. I think he would probably agree. You don't just say, "Hey, if you think of me," or somebody comes along that you think is a good fit for me, let me know. You need to say, here are the exact people I want you to introduce me to. Here are their titles. If anybody comes along, please introduce me to them. Or even better, here are the names of the people I want you to introduce me to.
Oh, and well, and I think Dean Jackson, and I know that you you've actually done his summary of his DNA. Uh, uh, Profit activators, breakthrough DNA, where he's orchestrating referrals. Like, he's telling them exactly, like, if this happens, this is what I want you to do.
Yeah. That's a very good point. The whole if then
Yep.
scenario. If this and that's a really good trigger for people to be thinking about. So I'm super happy we stopped on this slide for a while because that guy is incredibly handsome on the screen. So that's cool. So here's how we get the information, which is the real tactical part of what we're doing. So we force people, when they're getting the free portion, the free account, which is a free text summary every single day of our service, to sign up with LinkedIn. Now, we ran an A/B test on this, and it actually increased our conversion rate, which was surprising, but a happy accident. And the benefit to us is we're going to get all of this other information about them when they sign up. And it allows us at the same time to give somebody a free access trial to everything that we do without worrying about, will somebody just come back and game the system again next week with the new fake email address.
Right.
So, and if that didn't, because we had the strategy before we were doing this, if that didn't work, we would have figured out some other ways to get at that data. You could do it with first asking for the email address and then asking them all these questions. But what we found was that this actually increased the conversion rate, gave us all the data at once, and gave us a way to continuously check up on these people, because as they update this information, we follow along with that as well. So here's kind of a screenshot of inside of our back end about the signups that come in. We get all the fields that we need to determine if they're a quality lead for us. It allows us to put people into different autoresponders, based on the size of the company, based on their title, based on any of the information we get. We are able to customize the marketing to them, which is really powerful because you need to speak to different people in different ways. We set up alerts on companies that come in that are large companies, which are obviously great fits for us in terms of selling on a corporate level, because we found that there's obviously varying sizes of companies, but a lot of people that come in are solo entrepreneurs, and we simply, as a business model, can't spend time one-on-one trying to close deals with a solo entrepreneur, but we can do that obviously when we're talking about companies that are very large. And as we know, people tend to lie on forms when they fill them out. So, but this gives us the exact information that we need. So then we can do some more research on those people, which allows us to follow up with a custom outreach email in a way that makes a ton of sense. Um, and I want to give you a quick example, a real concrete example of something, a customer that came our way that turned into a bunch more using the model that I've already laid out. So this is between you, me, and the boardroom.
Uh-huh.
This is John Deganay, who came in. He was is a customer personally as an individual, and we by knowing exactly who he is, we got a ton of information. Um, we know that he works at the TMX Group, which is the company that runs the Toronto Stock Exchange. We know that he went to the University of Ottawa. He's a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Ontario. We know all of his connections. We know the volunteer experience and causes that he's associated with, and we know all the groups that he's involved in. So there's a lot of, this is basically the layout that I showed you earlier with his specific information filled in. So I went to Jean. I noticed that he was on the board of governors for Junior Achievement Central Ontario, which is the branch of Junior Achievement here in Toronto. He's super passionate about the cause. So there's one of those stupid transitions again. So I said to Jean, do a corporate deal with us and we'll give back 25% to Junior Achievement. And for those of you not familiar with Junior Achievement, it's the organization that teaches grade and high school kids entrepreneurship skills, along with financial readiness and some other stuff, but essentially preparing people, kids, to come into the workforce and hopefully become entrepreneurs. So we did the deal with Jean. Then he introduced us to the CEO of Junior Achievement. We pitched the program to her that we described earlier. They are creating an event, inviting all of the board members and directors to basically come and have me pitch 50 senior executives all at once. Which is like any entrepreneur's wet dream. So I get a room full of entrepreneurs. I get a preamble from somebody saying, you guys should buy this. I got people who've already bought it. It's basically my dream scenario. And, like I said, this is, just a quick screenshot of some of the people who would be there. And they're going to introduce us to all of the chapters of Junior Achievement worldwide. We pitched this as we're pitching this to the Junior Achievement. Of course, a lot of the other people get excited about it, and her leadership team is introducing me like immediately to 3 other high-profile CEOs. Somebody who was basically the second in command at Oprah's own network to try to get us to Oprah. So like all of these different things from one simple connection. So if we go back and show that viral stuff happening, these connections just continue on, right? Because the next CEO is going to have different board as a board member of a different charity, and we do that, and then it just keeps going. So all starting with we needed to know one piece of data, which was what cause was Jean Deganay connected with. And we're just talking about the charity element of Jean's subset of networks. We haven't even talked about him introducing us to his university and all that other good stuff as well. So I think you can kind of see the power of understanding what networks people are involved in and being able to have a pitch ready that plays on that, and that makes it good for them and for you and for your business. So I don't know if you have any questions on that. That was kind of the most technical part of really in the weeds kind of execution of this stuff. Do you have any questions on that?
You know what? I just started writing down names of people at that point. I think that there are some I guess transitional questions, where you pick up the phone, and I think this is where that comes in where you were talking about the cold email to Tony Hsieh. You notice that this Mr. Deganay was you started to look at his different profile and understand who he's about, and you built your B to C to B to the fifth power um, formula there, and you started to identify. And so the research is available through the LinkedIn. I think the LinkedIn is so powerful because, again, it's not, you don't have to start getting into a ask formula Ryan Levesque type questionnaire to find out, to identify your target customers. These people want to share who they are and what they're involved with on LinkedIn. And that every time, now when you mentioned something about alerts, how do you set up an alert for somebody when they change? Is that just through LinkedIn, that you follow them through LinkedIn, and if there's a change that alert comes up, or is there something that you have to add on, or what do you do for the alerts?
So when I said alerts, basically in our backend, we've set it up so that we know when somebody from a large company came into our system. So that's something we've created for ourselves.
Okay.
But in terms of information getting updated, so any time that they log in through LinkedIn to our system, their information gets populated. So if somebody changes roles, we would be able to tell, which is important when obviously somebody moves from one company to another and they're fans of what you do. That's a
Uh-huh.
good trigger to follow up and say, hey, why don't you think about bringing Read It For Me to your new company? And because we know a bunch of stuff about you, we can craft the pitch in a way that makes sense to them personally. And maybe that's one of the things that I think is the most powerful about this is you're able to craft a pitch to somebody that is personally meaningful to them
Yes.
without ever talking to them. And that is to understand what their interests are, to understand what charities they support, to understand where they went to school. You just get a really rich sense of how to make a pitch, and then now you can start applying all the things you learned and how to make a great pitch because you've got that information at your fingertips.
Right. Right. That is powerful. Boy, and it's the amount of information, but more importantly, the amount of useful information. And if a person's truly keeping up with their LinkedIn, and using that as a tool, I mean, it's relevant. It's immediately relevant information, and it's just, that's fantastic. And I just think that, I mean, when you saw that is it John Dagonet, when you saw, like, when you were going through that, what is your process of going through and, like, literally seeing a person like that? Is it because of the size of his company, or I mean, where do you start? Like, what is that beginning metric that you use?
In terms of identifying who we want to follow up with,
Yeah.
it has a lot to do with the size of the company. So if
Okay.
somebody's in a large company, they have the ability to write a big check. So in any business, you've got to decide where you place your effort.
Mhm.
And because we do have a lot of people coming through our system, it's important for us to be smart about that. So we take a look at the size of the company, and then obviously the role. It, talking to the CEO of a 500-person company might be better than talking to, a junior level manager at General Electric. So we've just set up basically the types of people, the size of the company, basically a good customer profile of who we want to talk to. And I should say, because we do business with every kind of company, it's more about who is the person as opposed to what company they are at.
Meaning, who
And then
is it? Who are they in that company, or
yeah,
who
it's both, right? So, um, you know, a solo entrepreneur, probably we're not going to do any custom outreach to them. Somebody who's running a 500-person company, we're probably going to send them a quick note and say, hey, we'd love to discuss how we might bring this to your company, or if we find a charity. Like, it really depends on the information we know about them. And we take it from there in terms of playing that we use Pipedrive as a tool, as our CRM, and put things in deal stages and all that kind of stuff. But
does Pipedrive, does that download this stuff directly from LinkedIn, or what does it do?
no, so we will go and manually put in the people that we find interesting into
Okay.
Pipedrive. I'm sure there's ways we can automate some of
Is
that.
Pipedrive similar to like a contactually or something like that, or is it just a?
I don't know. I've never used Contactually.
That'd be
It's basically a CRM. It's very simple to use. Has deal stages, so you can bring
yeah.
people through. It's the most simplest sales CRM tool I've used.
Okay,
Uh,
great suggestion. Pipedrive. That's just like pipedrive.com, right?
yeah. Um, yeah, and then most of what we do from there would be traditional sales tactics, but we're constantly thinking about how do we turn one customer into many, many, many more.
Right. Let me
Continuously
go
working.
back to the LinkedIn opt-in feature. Is that just a regular plugin that you use, or what does that do? Where did you?
It's not a plugin. It's you need to work with the API. So there's services out there that will allow you to do that. It's not plugins, but paid services.
Hmm.
I find that typically they'll target large companies, so the pricing is not great. So we just decided to, because we got a very talented developer, we just decided to build it ourselves,
Okay,
working with the API. So
got it.
um, I think it took him a day to do. So it was not
Sweet,
a huge deal. But having a really good developer on staff helps quite a bit.
fantastic. So let's move on to the next one, because this just everything is just like right now. There's so much, but I don't feel like it's too much. It's just like everything else you do in structure. It just seems like it's in a sequence that's perfect. It's just keeps going. And I know that you test the hell out of this stuff, and I don't think the word "it's done" is in your vernacular, but
No, it's not. I'll be done when they're dumping dirt on my face and lowering me into the ground.
there you go.
Um, so basically, this last part is like, why are we doing all this, and what's the end goal? Because for me, having meaning in what we're doing is really important to me. So there's a quote from Robin Williams that I buy into 100%. And he says, no matter what people tell you, the words and ideas can change the world. And so, we're naive enough to think that we can change the world through what we're doing. And I think, like I said earlier at the very beginning, we're at this specific point in time where we've got this opportunity, and I think, to change the course of history. uh, I don't believe opportunities like this come around very often, and I think and believe we're in the middle of one. And not just because I believe it, because a lot of people are talking about it. So when I give a presentation to an audience, I've done versions of this talk short form to entrepreneurship conferences, and what I have is I have everybody stand up. And so everybody stands up. And then I ask them to remain standing if you want to A, make a lot of money, and B, make a difference in the world. And invariably, everybody remain standing. I had no idea what was going to happen the first time I did it, and I did it in front of, I think, 500 people. And
Wow.
I had no backup plan if they didn't remain standing. So I'm glad they did. So what I tell them is that they all have the social entrepreneurial spirit. And everybody's heard of the entrepreneurial spirit. I'd suggest that the combination of those two things are the social entrepreneurial spirit. And I tell them that you have the opportunity to make more money and to have a bigger positive impact in the world by becoming a social entrepreneur. And that if we all work together, if everybody were to do this, we can literally write the next chapter in history and solve the world's biggest problems. Because I think the solution to many, if not all, of the world's biggest problems is going to be solved by entrepreneurs. Um,
Yep.
and we're in the middle of a shift right now that is going to literally transform the entrepreneurial landscape forever. And I want to describe to you why I and many smart people around the world believe this to be true. So there's a book by, unsurprisingly, I get a lot of my thinking and ideas from books that I read, and I read a book a day. So, I connect a lot of dots that way. So there's a book by James Altucher, who I'm imagining a lot of people in
Yes.
the community are familiar with,
You
where
bet.
he quotes the stat that the average multimillionaire in the United States has 7 streams of income. And of course, the advice is, well, everybody should be thinking about creating multiple streams of income. And I think if you asked any
Yep.
successful entrepreneur, they'd say that's true. And it's never been easier to do this. It's never been easier to earn a side income and to add at least one more stream to what you're already doing. You can drive an Uber at night. You can rent out your space or Airbnb. You can, sell your time on Elance. And it doesn't matter what skill you have. If it's somebody else could benefit from it, there's a network out there connecting you with customers that want it. So it's never been easier. But the same forces that are making it easier for you to earn this side income are making it easier for employers to cut their permanent workforce and hire contractors.
You bet.
So
It's the
um,
race.
one of the hottest books right now in the corporate world is called Exponential Organizations. And in part, they say, uh, get your team together and figure out how to tap into the crowd and use freelancers. I'm paraphrasing and making it far simpler than they did, but that's the idea. And the reason is the using contractors instead of employees saves organizations 30% of
You
their
bet.
labor costs, which is enormous. And that is the main reason why this is going to happen. This is not a debate. Organizations are now able to find the right people for the right job and save a ton of money. So that is happening. It happens to be a bad thing for employees who are not ready. There's another less celebrated book called Raw Deal, and basically this book states that this is why this change is going to screw the workers of the world. And what I found is that when the argument becomes whether or not it's a good or a bad thing, and not whether or not if it's going to happen, that's when you know that we're done. Like this is happening, and there's no more debate.
Right.
Especially in books, I've found the same thing happened 5, 6, 7 years ago when social media started to become a thing for business. At first, the debate was, is this actually, is this Facebook thing going to become a real tool for business? I don't know. And then at some point, the conversation turned to, is this a good or a bad thing for society? And once that happened, I knew, because I had spent a ton of time going around speaking to organizations about social media, that the debate was over. And I'm seeing this pattern repeat itself with this. So we know that this is happening. And it's like, here's a few examples just in case you're not fully on board with this idea yet. University of California, San Francisco pharmacists are being replaced, 500 of them, by this machine called PillPick.
Wow.
So, we're talking about professionals that have spent years and years and years studying to become and spending a ton of money to become these professionals are getting displaced. AOL laid off its entire ad sales team and replaced them with technology. You think about salespeople, like what's the one thing you would think would be safe? A really good salesperson, right?
Yeah.
Everybody needs good salespeople. Nope, sorry, replaced with technology.
Well,
Software.
I mean, I guess it depends on the industry, though, right?
Yeah, it would obviously depend on the industry, but the point is nobody is safe.
No.
The
No.
best people will always be safe, but if you think you're safe just because you have a certain type of job, you're in trouble.
Well, let me ask you
Uh,
this. Like, well, we're going to talk about this just for a second.
sure.
Everybody talks about how business is based on, and even you here, right, in your formula, it's based on relationships, on building
Mhm.
relationships. How does technology, well, I guess I'm answering my own question. I mean, the relationships are built by the company and what that company does, the functionality of the company and what they do for the person to help that person become more successful, profitable, whatever. I mean, what do you see as the answer of, hey, wait a minute, this is still a relationship industry. We need salespeople for that relationship.
I think depending on the industry, there's always going to be the need for that. But there's always going to be something that comes along next that is going to eat away at everything except the most highly value added activities. And if there's a way for technology to replace it, it'll be replaced.
To the extent that a salesperson also represents himself as a gatekeeper, I think that salesperson is going the way of the dodo. I think in food sales, I think that there's relationships and the relationships that they build in food service, especially because it's not just like, okay, I'm ordering something and then I don't order for another year. It's I'm ordering today and I'm probably ordering tomorrow, or at least I'm ordering in a couple of days. That ordering process doesn't require a salesperson. But what that salesperson has become is more of a consultant and identifying what they're doing and sharing stories about how people are successful. But even that, as we're talking about this right now, that could be taken care of through technology as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, the people with relationships like that doesn't cut it anymore. You need to be insightful about somebody's business, and that automatically eliminates a whole bunch of people from the equation.
Yep.
And eventually, if the insights can be replaced by technology, they will. So there's the constant need to evolve and to be paying attention to what's going on, and to for some people it's the worst thing that's going to happen, and for some people it's the biggest opportunity staring you right in the face. So
Just a real sidebar. I had a meeting yesterday with a 150-year-old Japanese company that was wanting to work with us to to partner up with us because they have all the products in the world. They're multi-billionaire, one of the five, the five big conglomerates in Japan. This is one of them. And I asked them, they said, oh, well, we've got a great quality, our quality is great. And I said, how does the customer discern the quality that you provide, and what does that provide for them on the plate? The guy went back and he kept talking about their sources and where they get product and the farmers and all this type of stuff. And I'm thinking in my mind, you know what? You guys are just like Kodak. You guys think that you're in the product business, and you really aren't in the and you're coming to me, who's probably 100x less than you guys in volume, to ask me for help dealing with getting out there at the customer level. Now, they've obviously been successful. They're a multi-billion-dollar company, but to listen to somebody talk about what's the customer's experience, and their answer had nothing to do with the customer. I was like shocked by that's still out there.
Yeah, and I think you're bang on. Like, the things where you're not adding a ton of value are eventually going to get stripped away and replaced by things that can be automated.
And you're commoditized.
Absolutely, yeah. So, speaking of commodities, like, journalists are a commodity now. Software can literally, like, if you've read news online, not the fake news that everybody's talking about in the last little while.
Right.
Journalists used to write those. Now, a lot of times you're reading stories created by software, and you would never know the difference. Auditoriums full of lawyers are now replaced by discovery software, where one lawyer can do the work of 500, which makes my decision to leave the legal profession look pretty prescient right now. But the point is, it can go on and on. But no matter where you work or what you do, there's a very high probability that your job will be disrupted in the very near future. And I'm just giving you, like, cherry picking some examples.
Uh-huh.
There's hundreds of these examples. So what that means is that we have a reality today where 34% of the workforce today either A, works on the side, or B, owns their own business. And that number is going to go up to 50% by 2020. Yeah, some of which because they can, and most of which because they must. And I always like to say that if you show numbers in a pie chart, it means it's true. So there's a ton of data around this, that this is actually going to happen. And what we're entering, and by the way, from 34 to 50% doesn't sound like a huge shift, but we're talking about tens of millions of people.
Oh yeah.
Literally tripling the world of entrepreneurship, which is crazy over a short period of time. That's a seismic shift. And so what we're entering is what a lot of people are calling the age of the entrepreneur. More than half of the workforce will be the CEO of their own company. And so the question we need to think about is, or the reality that we need to think about, is that most of these entrepreneurs are going to struggle to earn a living. And then the question becomes, okay, what if every single one of these entrepreneurs were social entrepreneurs? Can we actually make this happen? And what can we accomplish if we did that? And so when again, turning to books, there's a book called Getting Beyond Better, and it's written by Roger Martin, who was formerly the dean of the Rotman School of Business at the University of Toronto, is like a world celebrated thinker. Um, and his book talks about how social entrepreneurship works, and they lay out a framework for how do you go about creating social change. So, like on a very meta level, our thinking is, well, how do we turn every entrepreneur into a social entrepreneur? So that would be like a meta social entrepreneurship problem. So one of the things they suggest you think about is that there's always an equilibrium, which is, in other words, saying this is the way the world is today that you need to upset. And today, the equilibrium is that 99% of the people are drawn to entrepreneurship for the sole purpose of making more money or making money. And, not that making money is a bad thing, because along with that comes the things that people really want, which is freedom, security, accomplishment, and all that good stuff. And there's two kind of role models that exist today. There's people who exist only to make money, and you've probably seen lots of people on Instagram posting photos with a bunch of money on a bed. That's in part what and these people get all of these likes and attention because that's what people are looking for, or people who give back to the world after they have made it. When you think about people like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and Mark Zuckerberg, who are giving back after they've made their fortunes. And what we don't, the advice that you will always get as an entrepreneur, especially if you're just starting out, is that you can go and change the world after you've made it. That's something you do after you've made it. Don't do it right now. Focus on surviving. And the stories we tell about social entrepreneurs, even the ones who are successful, is that they are people who are doing well by doing good. If you search that term, you'll find a whole bunch of hits, millions of hits for do well by doing good. And I think those people deserve to be celebrated and cherished. There should be more of them. But the reality is that that's not the message that's going to convince the entire next generation of entrepreneurs to choose social entrepreneurship. You're not going to inspire people by saying, hey, you can do good and make a living. That's not the inspiration people are waiting for. What the reality is, we're going to have millions of people becoming entrepreneurs who will struggle to keep their head above water. And the last thing they're going to do is stack the deck against themselves right out of the gate. And they believe that they're doing that because of the message they're getting. Social entrepreneurship is going to make it harder to make a living. And so what we get is 99% of the people starting a business for the first time, social impact isn't even in the conversation. It's about survival. And I think, what I've tried to show you earlier here is that if you can make this part of your business model, will actually help you grow your business. It's not going to be a detriment. It's actually going to help you grow. And there's a lot of data right now around how, especially the millennials and the next generations coming up, want to purchase from companies who have a social cause, and will actually switch brands to one that has a social cause. So these people are not doing social entrepreneurship because they're bad people or because they're not inclined to do it. It's because they're getting the wrong message. And the message that we need to spread is that you can profit more by doing good. So profit more as opposed to doing well. And I want to explain with an analogy. So for the longest time, if you cared about climate change, you're encouraged to purchase responsibly. And the biggest purchase you make around this is your car. So the Toyota Prius launched in 1997. Very few people bought it, relatively speaking. And you can tell why by looking at the car. It's not the sexiest car, and not because people are bad people or saving the environment is not a good cause, but because it came in the wrong package. And yes, you're going to have people who are so concerned about the environment they will buy it, but you're not going to move the majority or the masses to do it if you give the wrong message or it comes in the wrong package. But then Elon Musk comes along and gives us Tesla. And they started off with a very expensive car, and now it's a mid-range car, and they're of course working on, as most people know, a low-cost car. What they've proved is that if you can show people that they can give back to the world and they can get what they've always wanted, which is a sexy car, and one that you want to be seen in, that you can start a revolution. And so the analogy ends here. So social entrepreneurship 1.0, because it's the right thing to do. Social entrepreneurship 2.0 profit more by doing good. And so that's basically the model that we've put together. And, basically I was trying to position it today to show you how you make more money. And I think that's the way we need to be thinking about social entrepreneurship is how do you get people to make more money first, while baking in this giving back as part of the model. So just coming back to it, to kind of wrap things up, we have Social Entrepreneurship 2.0, where you've got a competitive product or service growing mainly through word of mouth by truly understanding word of mouth and what it means. And then the better your business does, the bigger the impact you have in the world. And the example I always like to give is that it's not only okay for you to do better when you have this baked into your business, it's expected. And the motivation for you becomes the more money I make, the more impact I make in the world. And the best example of this is Blake Mycoskie, who runs Tom's Shoes, which I think most people are familiar with. Blake Mycoskie sold half the company for $300 million. So, if you ask most entrepreneurs, that's enough to satisfy their needs for the rest of their lives and for probably generations more. And if you took a look at the growth of Tom's versus the growth of like the biggest company in the world, like the shoe company in the world, Nike, you'd see a favorable growth pattern. So the idea here is that they're not growing in spite of the fact that they give back to charity. They're growing because of it. And that's the message we need to spread. So just to bring it back to nuts and bolts, when people buy Read It For Me, what they're really buying is their own micro social business where we help them earn money by doing great things for all of the connections in their world, whether it's their college, their connections, the charities they're involved with, their company, and the communities that they live in. And that's really what you need to do to bake this into your model. So just to get very nuts and bolts about it, for every sale that our partner or customer brings in, we give back 25% to the partner. A portion, 10%, goes to a charity of their choice. And then a student at Junior Achievement gets a lifetime membership to Read It For Me, which is a $1,500 value. So for every sale that our partners make for us, some really cool stuff happens for themselves and for their network. And that's how you drive this change. And our goal is that if we can get millions of people to do this and they can feel how good it feels and see that they can make more money doing it and hear more about our story, about how we're growing our business using this model, that they'll want to do it in their business too. And that's really our end goal with this. And that's why we believe that we can write the next chapter in history together by creating like you said earlier, a crusade, really. But I'm going to call it a movement.
Yes.
A lot of negative connotations about crusades. We're not trying to go out and slaughter people, but
I am. No, just kidding.
yeah, maybe some people are
Right.
secretly. So we
Movement,
think
right.
that if we can do this in a mass scale way, that we can literally change the course of history. Not us, but everyone else doing it together. So that's basically what I wanted to take you through. I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to give you some of the contextual stuff and the more high level stuff along with the nitty gritty. But that's really what we're trying to do here at Read It For Me.
That's fantastic. So let me ask you just from a transactional thing. Here, I'm going to post this this interview, the conversation that we just had about social entrepreneurship and just that it's absolute world-changing, life-altering capability. And I want to send, somebody's going to say, well, how do I get involved with this Read It For Me thing? Should I be using some kind of an affiliate link for me that I just put in and in the comments or something, and I can figure out the charity that I'm gonna donate to or whatever? I mean, how do I do this from here?
Yeah, we can set up a special one. You'll have one in your account already,
Yep.
but we can set up a special offer for the community if that's something you want to do, and we can.
Yes, I would.
So, why don't we just say it'll be Read It For Me /Thursday-night-boardroom. And then by the time you post this, that link will be live. So if you're listening to this now, this
Okay.
link is live and you can go there.
Fantastic.
It'll be an offer for a lifetime membership to Read It For Me for $250. Regular price is $1,500, as we said earlier. These promotions are basically what we give to our partners. You won't find this on our website. And on top of that, you'll have the ability to gift 10 annual subscriptions to Read It For Me to people in your network. So it's a completely free, no strings attached. And as I said earlier, we're very transparent about what we're doing. You get to give away a gift worth $300, and eventually, if not immediately, we're getting access to somebody who might be a good customer for us. So it's a win-win. We'll be getting a ton of great feedback about that offer and that bonus. So if you want to take advantage of that, head on over to readitforme / Thursday-night-boardroom.
So it's readit4.me /Thursday/night/boardroom.
Thursday dash
I'm sorry, dash slash.
yeah.
I'm see crusade slash. I'm like all over the place here.
I know, man. It's scary stuff.
But I really appreciate this, Steve. This has been fantastic. I know that I've been recording this. I know I've recorded the video, and this is going to be going up very shortly. And I have a list of people that I know are doing some very good things out there in the world of charities. Some people, Chip Franks with Joe Volunteer, and then my friends, the Millers, Paul and Deborah Miller, whose son has Duchenne. And they created Cure Duchenne, and it has become a global movement now. And there's just so many people that I can keep listing here that I'm so proud of, that I really want them to see this video and get involved this way. And again, as you always do, a friction-free way of doing good, and I just so appreciate what you do, and I'm just so excited for every conversation that we have. I appreciate you, and just thanks for the time to reshare this again. And this was definitely this was like the Godfather Part 2 of these presentations. So it was actually better than the first one, even though the first one was world class. So thanks again, Steve. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Jeff. It was awesome. I hope the Thursday Night Boardroom gets some value from this, and I just want to thank you for all you do, because I know there's hundreds of people, if not thousands, inspired by what you do every week, and we need more people like that. And I follow along, and I appreciate everything you do. So thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you, Steve. I look forward to hearing everybody's feedback.